Today we start lesson 1. The topic is we live only once. How to live well and make it worthwhile. That's the topic. Okay.
Sleeping. It is sleeping. Come on.
Stop.
No, okay, there.
And then in Toronto, there are hundreds and thousands of meetup groups. Okay. Now this meetup group is unique because it is about life, right? For life. The fact that you're here indicates that you think life is a serious business. Right? Life is value. Right? So usually, when we talk about life, we talk about two kinds of questions. One is about the big questions about human existence, the big questions. Now, people might not articulate about the big questions, but they do think about that. For example, what the meaning of life? What the meaning of death? What the meaning of suffering? Why is it bad thing happen to good people? Why there's so much evil in the world? Oppression, abuse, and discrimination. Why are so many natural disasters, which are devastating and deadly? So people do wrestle with this question. People ask, well, if there is God who is compassionate and all-powerful, why does He allow innocent people, good people, to suffer? So people do wrestle with these questions. And how we answer those questions will affect how we live. So, but most people will are wrestling with the second type of question, that is, what the meaning in my life, right? They don't concern about the big philosophical questions about human existence. They concern this poor me. About my hopes, my fears, about my aspirations and frustrations, disappointments, about my tears and my joy, and about why am I stuck in a dead-end job? Why I'm trapped in a loveless marriage? What my children gone astray? Why do you have cancer? Okay, I had cancer, right? I'm still here, thank God, right? So those are questions people ask about their own lives. And how can I make the most of my life, right? So these are some things that we'll be discussing in this course. Now, this is some of the people's views about life. And if I ask you about what's your view about life, some people say, well, life is a gift from God to be enjoyed with gratitude, right? Somebody say, well, life is what? A game, yeah. A game. You gamble. You gamble, yeah. And what else do you think about life? Life, most commonly, most people say life's a journey or adventure, right? And some people say, well, life is a burden, 好麻烦, right? In Cantonese, it's 好麻烦. Oh, life is trouble. You have to bear and endure, right? Life is burden. What else do you think about life? So your view about life as a whole also affects how you live. So hopefully, by the end of the course, you have a much more positive outlook on life. And when people ask you, well, what's life? You can give a more positive answer rather than say, oh, life is trouble, life is a burden, life is struggle. And now, here, I try to break down for you, okay? if you ask the question, what makes life worth living? Because you only live once, right? And what makes life worth living? Actually, there are 5 related questions. The first question is that we live only once, we better make it right first time. There's no rehearsal in life. No, you cannot say, I go back to my mother's tummy and then be born again. Right? Start over again. You can't just go once. So you better get it right. You better marry the right person, get a right job, and give birth to the right children.
You can't say that.
So you better get it right first time, right? And the second thing is that life is finite. Life is short. So what do you make the most of it? Now, this is interesting finding, okay? About 2 weeks ago, did a survey about Toronto's young people, like your age, high school age, high school, 16, 17. Do you know that? People ask them, what do you do most of the time? They say, 64% of young people, teenagers, say, well, we are lazy, we do nothing. 64%. They say they do nothing. They just watch on TV, listen to music, chit-chatting. They admit that they are lazy. Now, the Chinese saying that in the Chinese saying, may I say Chinese? 少年不努力，點樣？老大徒
傷悲。
老大徒傷悲，即係少年不努力啊，老大徒傷悲。They say that if you do not work hard, when you get old, you regret, right? But life is short. You don't realize they say, oh, well, I'm 16, 17. I have whole life ahead of me. You know, why bother now? I can always work harder later, but life goes by so quickly. Not too long ago, I was her age. Right?
Long ago.
Not to me. And I still remember, you know, I was still just as lively from your age. And not too long ago, she was a teenager, 16, 17. After father, right? Not too long ago, he was just a high school kid, right?
Oh, just yesterday.
Right? So, you know, the idea is that life is short. You know, most people will give a fortune to buy 1 extra year of life. You know that? If you, I'm dying of cancer, I'm dying. You have 1 month, 3 months to live. People say, well, what can I do to live longer? 2 more years, 3 more years. I'll skip. I'll give all my money. I'll spend all my money to find cure to extend my life. But when they're younger, what do they think about that? Right? What do they think about that? But life is short, right? The third thing is that life offers many opportunities. How do you make the right choice? Let's think about that. Okay? If you live forever, then you don't worry about making the wrong choice, right? You marry the wrong woman, you marry again. You get the wrong job, you start over again. But life is short. So you have to, if you choose A, you can have B. If I marry her, I will say no to all the other girls.
One would hope so.
Right? So, right? Teresa married him.
She gets
Yes,
stuck.
she knows a lot of guys, right? You know?
I don't know about that.
It's because if you choose A, yes, choose B, right? Because you have to be very careful about your choices, right? So if you make the right choice, then your life will work more sleeping, then you make the wrong choice. The fourth one is life is a constant struggle and how do you overcome? Because it doesn't matter how rich you are. Steve Jobs, very rich. He tries cancer, right? And it doesn't matter how rich, how famous, and there's always troubles in life, right? And John Edward, right, used to be way up in the world, a candidate for president, and now he might go to jail. So there's always trouble. So if you don't know how to navigate through troubled waters, if you do not know how to overcome the trials and tribulations in your life, and then you'll be quite miserable. It's so simple. So you have to learn a way. You have a way to rise above your troubles. And lastly, everybody wants a better life. How to achieve it? The fact that you're here indicates that, at the back of your mind, you say, well, my life could be better. Right? My life could be better. My life could be less boring. My life could be more exciting. My life could be more hopeful. My marriage could be better. My health could be better. I mean, there's hope, right? Everyone's hope. Hope is oxygen. Without hope, we wither. So this question actually involves 5 related questions. Next slide. Now, here you are, my real self, okay? And here your ideal self. You want to be better. Does it describe you? No. So what do you like to be? You're here. You want to go up or go down?
I think it's the terminology.
Okay.
That's okay.
Picture. This picture. Okay. So how will you picture yourself? Here we are. Okay. Here you are. Okay. Do you want to improve yourself?
For me, those type of words don't work for me. What I think life is about is learning to evolve and to be all that you are already, and to recognize and realize that in the world.
Okay.
So it isn't about better. I don't think that those kind of words really help us in terms of. But that's just me. That's
okay.
my.
So your life is going in cycles.
More of a spiral, I would think.
Spiral. Okay.
Okay, that.
There are people saying that way here. There are people saying, this is more Western, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're more Western thinking, right? They're linear, right?
Very much so.
They are in India, they have, like going spiral, cycle. Well, even spiral is still going up, Buddha.
Well, it's an oscillation. I don't see it as linear or moving from one place to
So
another.
this is just a graphic representation, okay?
Yeah.
Alright.
Sorry, I'm late, Dimple.
Oh, dimple, yeah.
Thank you.
Hey.
Are you here at the first meetup? This is my first. This is the first time I came.
Okay, we can continue. Now, this is most of us accept rules, okay? Most of us want to improve themselves, okay? So there are exceptions. People say, well, I don't want to go up, go better.
The point
okay?
is, though,
Huh?
you've said here life is a constant struggle. How to overcome obstacles is the question. Are we not meant to be on earth to endure and to have lots of struggles? Is that not the purpose of life? If I had no struggles, I'd have no character. So this is a good thing.
Yeah, good thing, yeah.
Yeah.
But God wants us to overcome, not be defeated, right?
Well, why should you be defeated if God is in you? You won't be
Yeah,
defeated.
yeah. But not
But you'll
everybody.
still suffer.
Yeah. But not everybody. But there are people who feel defeated by life. There are people.
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, some people are.
Absolutely.
There are people,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yep.
Anyway,
I get the point. It's just that
just a simple verse.
for me that
But
kind
that's
of
fine. That's fine.
doesn't work.
This will apply to. If I ask all my students, I've taught many years. Okay?
Sure, sure.
Most students want to. I'm happy with my grade. I want to be better. Okay.
Sure, sure. I appreciate that.
Okay. People say, I'm not happy with my income. I want to make more money. I mean, everybody wants to better themselves. Okay. That's simply maybe not American phenomenon. Okay. But that is. Yeah. I can't see it. Let me gesture for you. Even though everybody want to better themselves, okay? Everybody want to advance the well-being of the society. This is a very interesting graph about American and Canada developed country and developing countries. It's very interesting. India, China, they all strive to catch up with America in terms of productivity, comfort, health. You know, it's very interesting graph. You know, India, China are catching up.
Have they not surpassed?
They might surpass. Okay, so whether you're an individual or whether you are a society or a country, they all strive to better themselves, okay, improve their well-being. But I ask myself this question, okay? As an individual, as a country, do we get better by making more money, by having more creature comforts, you know, by being stronger militarily than other countries? So there's a mindset there that bigger is better, and stronger is better, faster is better, computer can be faster and faster, right? So there is a mindset that just keep going up, only up, okay? There's a mindset, okay? She doesn't buy that, say other people don't buy that mindset. But this is a mindset very wrong. That's the secular mindset, okay? Everybody catch up with America. But the reality, individuals everything, but here's the reality now. There are 4 patterns, 4 trajectories. Okay, you can see it, but I will use my hand again. One pattern is flat. Flat. That means your life is, that pattern is a smooth sailing of ordinary or small up and downs or cyclical, but your life pretty well stay that way. No major upheaval. Huh? Boring. That sounds like boring. You know. But that, in a way, if you know Chinese philosophy, most people in village in China, they want this life. They say the ideal life is no trouble. The government doesn't give us trouble, no sickness, 平平淡淡平平淡淡，踏踏实实Yeah, ordinary, practical life. You know, they don't want to get rich or what. They just want to a family together, right? Enjoy the simple pleasures of life. Just like that, ordinary life. So, for us, for most people, that's boring. But some people enjoy that. You know, they don't want to get very rich or very famous. They just want to spend time with their family, right? And ordinary life. But still, you think about is that, you know, when you go to lecture like that, we just think about what it's all about. When I was very young, I watched a movie that really impressed me. I was about 11. The movie name is that This Is My Life. This is my life. It's a story about an old policeman who spent most of the time on a beat. And then he retired. Retired. I said, my life passed. What is? I don't believe I really lived. I just go on beat every day, you know. Now I collect small pension, and I'm going to die. So he wondered what that's life all about. And another movie I've seen, you know, I'm a movie buff. Okay, that movie is called The Kill. It's called Kill. This is a story about a civil servant in Japan. Civil servant in Japan. He spent 30 years, day in, day out, go to office. You know, he's a department head, you know, like the senior civil servant. He will approve the application. Right? Every day, sun or shine, he never miss a day. He go to work, he read the application, he chop this application. And one day went to the hospital and did bandage up. The doctor said, you only have 3 months to live. You have the final stage of lung cancer. Or, you know. So his whole world went apart. So what if you have only 3 months to live, right? So what happened? He quit the job, he walked out his job, take all the money out from the bank. He doesn't know how to spend the money. He doesn't know how to spend money to enjoy it. I mean, he just, until he was wandering straight, and in the evening he ran into his young assistant in the past. The assistant seemed to be so full of life, you know, so happy. He said, I'm so happy to meet you. It's a conversation. And then the old man, he's only 50-something, he's not that old. He talks to the young woman and says, tell me, young lady, why are you so happy? Why are you so happy? If I were able to live one day, just one day as happy as you, before I die, I would die without regret. Okay? Right? Only one day to be happy as you. So tell me. So the girl said, well, I don't have much education, and now I quit the civil servant job, and I'm working in a factory. So I make toys for children. So every time I make toys, I imagine all the children be so happy playing with the toys I make. So that gives me happiness. Okay? So all of a sudden, a light bulb turned on. You see, I got it. He went back to his office, digging out the old application, to convert a little area of swamp into a park for the children. But he put aside, right? He had trouble. This will be my mission. So he spent the next 2 or 3 months advocating, championing for this project, going to different departments, bureaucracies, right? Engineering department, hygiene department, that department. He spent 3 months struggling with that. At the end of the movie, here was the swing, the snow was falling. He died by himself in the park with snow falling down. He died happy. You know why? Because he was able to do something that's meaningful. All his life, he worked, but no meaning. He said, now I can see children playing in the playground. Now I'm able to bring joy and happiness to the neighborhood. So he died happy. So it's never too late to change that, right? Now, so they're flat, but you can still do small things. You can still make life meaningful. Another common thing is that you start well, you end poorly. Right? You work hard, you're very successful, very rich, and then you make a couple terrible mistakes in life. You end up in jail, or you lose all your money, lost all your investment. You start well, you end poorly. And the third type, the lucky ones, the fortunate ones, they're able to, live wisely, step by step, improving themselves, able to fulfill all their dreams. Okay. Now, not too many people are able to live that kind of life. Not too many. I hope all our children can be like that, right? Yeah, no major mishap. They're able to, on the right track, improve themselves and live a happy life, live a good life until the very end. But most common one is like this, going well, and then something terrible happens. Major interruption. Blah. From here, hit rock bottom. It could be a disaster like a tsunami, right? It could be earthquake, it could be cancer, and could be abuse, and could be family falling apart because of divorce. It could be any kind of thing. Are you okay? He's a strong man. He's a strong man.
No, he's just having some.
Oh no, it didn't come out. That's good. Thank you.
So where am I? I talk about the resilience. Now, this is the hero's journey, right? You start well, and you got hit, and then you recover, and then tell your story. Right? Then tell your story. This is the hero's journey. I mean, can be different tragedies, different kind of tragedies, but the pattern is the same. A hero's journey is always marked by a huge disruption. Sometimes, some horrible thing happen to anyone, right? But the key is to recover, right? Recover. So there are 4 patterns. There may be other variations, okay? But these are the 4 common patterns. So any question? Okay, next slide. Now here is something I want you familiar with called ontological anxiety. Nobody likes anxiety, right? But to a human being, always face this anxiety. Ontological means anxiety about being, okay, about living, about being. So here is anxiety, okay? You are always confronted with 2 choices. Okay, 2 choices. One choice is the status quo. Okay. Continue the way you are. You don't want change. No change. You are afraid of change. You don't want to change anything. You want life to go on the way it is until you die. You don't want to change. Okay. But if you choose the status quo, choose sameness, choose security, but you suffer the consequence. That is, you suffer from guilt. You suffer from regret. Now, why you feel guilty? You feel guilty because you fail to become what you're meant to be. Okay? Everybody has an idea what you're meant to do, what you're meant to be, right? If you hang on to your job or hang on to something familiar, well, that's not a happy life, because you feel guilty will not become better, will not improve myself, and you're left for regrets. I could have gone to school. I could have done this. I could have done that. But I didn't do any of those things. By the time when you are on deathbed, you say, it's too late. So you live a life of regret. Now the other one is that, okay, I want to make some changes in my life. Right? But that's not easy either. Do you know why? Because when you make changes, you take a chance, right? When I come here, you don't know me, right? You take a chance. Good for you. Good for you. And Teresa, right? You take a chance on me, right? Did I scare you? No. Okay. you take a chance in life, right? Oh, Catherine knows me, so she's okay. And Ruth also take a chance on me, right? You see, you walk in a stranger's house. You don't know what's waiting for you, right? You walk in, right?
Oh, trust me, I wouldn't have walked in if I thought there was anything wrong.
But you don't know, right?
Oh, I didn't know, but I could soon find out.
For me, when I started to meet up, I'm taking a chance, right? I have no idea who will come here. Could be a psychopath. Could somebody who rob her? Oh, the ivory also nice. I mean, like this. Oh, you know, they could rob me, right? I'm taking a chance. But life is about taking chances, right? You take chance, I take chance. See, if you want to start something new or trying to change, you suffer from anxiety of the unknown. You don't know what will happen. You know? And also you suffer from the anxiety about uncertainty and the risk. Right? So either way, you have anxiety. Either way. Stay put, anxiety. Get up, anxiety. That's life all about. So I always choose change.
Take a chance.
Take a chance. That's
You're
why
a gambler.
I'm not a gambler, I'm known as a rebel. Do you know what a rebel is?
A rebel?
Yeah.
Go ahead, give us your
Explain it.
definition.
Yeah.
Okay, here's a rebel. Here's a rebel. A rebel is someone who is dissatisfied with the status quo. See, life could be better. Challenge the status quo. When I do that, you get in trouble. I get in trouble all the time with authority. I know, I get in trouble all the time. With authority, with church authorities, with academic authorities, with political authority. You go to China, they'll lock me up. If you see something that the status quo is there's injustice, there's wrong, okay? You want to change. The people in power will not like to change, right? They will shoot you down, right? But I choose the path of being a rebel. Not everyone choose that, right? There's some people play safe. My poor wife will drag her along, you know. She
Calculated risk.
yeah, well, they're a little bit rebel in her, okay? But they're a little bit rebel, so I'll be able to drag her along. Okay? But most of the time she went to play safe. But I just kick and scream and just drag her along. I drag her to Texas, drag her to UB, drag her to British Columbia, I travel all over the place, you know.
It's calculated risk.
And where are we now? The next one. Okay. Now here's something about so there are 4 patterns. Okay, they make decision. Now here is a great. How to pronounce that word?
Dissolution.
Dissolution. I got it right. Huh? Some I still have difficulty pronouncing that word, right? the great dissolution. Get it right, all right? You say, okay. The first thing is that, is there all there is to life? Now suppose you have set an aim for yourself, okay? You say, I want to be the richest man, I want to be one. But at the end, you ask yourself, is that all there is to life? Okay. Do you know how many lawyers are depressed? Do you know how many doctors kill themselves? Oh, it'd be nice to be a lawyer. It's great to be a medical doctor.
Dentist as well.
Oh, dentist, yeah. Dentist every day look at the mouth, so it's so depressing. Her sister
My
said,
sister is a dentist. My twin sister is a dentist.
I'm sorry, don't tell Sharon say that. I can't imagine myself looking at the mouth every day. Don't tell her.
We all know.
So is it often that you think you want to go to hill, but after you get there, oh, you want to marry this guy. To marry him, say, oh, is that all? But, I mean, they always did this, when get what you want. You realize the reality is not as good as you imagine, right? I remember that one of my research assistants, she was in love, and she married this great engineer from Queen's University. And then after 2 months of marriage, she told me, I feel so miserable in my marriage. If I knew marriage was like that, I would not have married. Because he's very bossy, very controlling, He's an engineer, right? Control everything. Yeah, control everything. Make her feel miserable. So he confided in me and said, so I'll say, don't worry, I'll fix him. I'm just joking. And the other one is the same thing. If there's success, why I'm so miserable or so big. And finally, King Solomon, the rich man, the smartest guy, the king of Israel, he said, his conclusion, okay? His life, he said, he has tried everything. Success, wealth, wisdom, and power, everything under the sun. At the end, he said, without God, if that's all you got everything in the world. His conclusion is that vanity of vanity, all is vanity. That's the conclusion. So there's something that you make in the whole wide world, you could lose your soul, right? You may at the end you might say vanity, every vanity. Right? Now the next slide we talk about the great deception. Okay? Now so many people are fooled. Some people shake hands with the devil, sell their soul to the devil. Okay? Now here's one line. I will be satisfied if I am number one. Right? I'll be satisfied if I only if. See, the only if. I'll be happy only if. Well, that's a lie. As long as you think only if, you'll never be happy. And the other lie is, that's like, I don't need anybody, I can solve all problems myself. I don't need God, I don't need church, I don't need friends. I can solve all problems for myself. That is the rugged individualism, right? I can solve all problems myself. But that is self-deception. No one can solve all problems. Why? The basic fact is that no one is an island. We are part of humanity. We are part of a social ecology. We are made for each other. we're wired for each other. And people without healthy relationship, without secure attachment, they cannot be healthy and happy because we're wired that way. We all need each other. That's why the meetup is so successful in everywhere. But people need people. They're not satisfied with just Facebook or Twitter to have face-to-face interaction. We not only wired for each other, we are wired for God. That's the spiritual need. So when people say that I do not need anyone, that one is the biggest fool. Right? That's the biggest fool. The last one is also a lie. It said the quality of life thing. If life is full of suffering, then I better kill myself. That's not worth living. Okay? So if you lose your ability to I was really sad when I was teaching a train. One of my students was a trapping big fellow, 6 feet 5, healthy and strong. He working thesis, doing a thesis with me. So we met every week. And his topic is about resilience, how to be resilient, and how to be an overcomer, and how to rise above stick. I was sick to my stomach when I learned a newspaper that he killed himself by throwing himself in a railroad track. And he never completed his thesis because he learned he suffered from a degenerative disease. I don't know, what's that? MS. Yeah. He can't see himself become degenerate, he can face. And another person, one doing a Ph.D. at Ph.D., the head of the computer science department, all the department, is a very distinguished looking man, very distinguished looking, very successful, and very smart. And he's my professor. He too committed suicide because he lost his wife. His wife died of cancer, and he didn't know what to do with himself. So he killed himself. So he can't handle the loneliness, the pain. So if everybody killed himself because of pain, of suffering, or frustration, or what happened to humanity, right? I just completed a paper about resilience. Right? See, actually, when we go through trouble, we become stronger. What doesn't kill you, we get stronger. Right? So if you go with pain and suffering, I'll kill myself. That's never a solution.
But the student has the sickness, right? The disease that maybe does not recognize that he has a problem. He just killed himself.
No, he discovered. He was told by a doctor he had this degenerative disease, no cure, right?
Right.
He can't imagine himself become paralyzed. So he just threw himself. He didn't talk to me. He just killed himself. If he talked to me, we're able to discuss that there are options, there's hope, right? But I didn't have a chance to talk to him. He just killed himself. I wish I could talk to my professor too. I said, when you lose your wife, that's not the end of the world, right? That's not the end of the world. He killed himself. He's a very handsome guy, famous and good looking, successful. But he loved his wife so much, he cannot live without her. So I'm just saying that, these are, so what we learn here is that They will always be suffering in life, right? But there's a way to grow from that. There's a way of finding meaning and grow from your experience. That's right. Now here's the famous calculus of the good life, not developed by Einstein, but developed by yours truly. Yeah. You have your hand out there.
Page 2.
So, in order to achieve the good life, you need to solve a series of simultaneous equations. Okay? You have to solve all these equations in order to achieve good life. Okay. The fourth equation is A, is about who you are. You know something, you know who you are, what you have, your present circumstances. You have to take stock for yourself. You have to know your strengths, your weaknesses, and your potentialities, and you have to know them about yourself, so that you can do something with what you have. Okay? Everybody can do something with what they have. You can't say, oh, well, I will do something only if I finish my university, or only if I get my degree, or even that kind of thinking, the only if thinking will ruin you, right? The right way of thinking is that I will do something with my life with whatever I have. Okay? I may not have education, I may not be healthy, I may not be young. I'll do something with what I have, and that will be a good beginning. And the Chinese proverb say, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. Right? And 2 days ago, the lady made the news. She got a degree from university at the age of 81. Right?
You go, girl.
She's got an age now.
Yeah, you go, girl.
Well,
For
right?
her, she has.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, for her, she has.
No, because she said, I'm old, I'm this, I'm that, but I want to do something with what's still left in my life. I want to go back to school. Before I raise children and help my husband with her business, I deprive myself the opportunity to go to school. Now is my time. Nobody can stop me. Nobody can stop me. She did what she got to do, right? That's it. Starting with where you are. It's never too late to change. It's never too late. It's never too late. You know, you can start a second career, a third career. You can turn a new chapter. You know, I was at a conference in Concordia. That conference about sexual abuse in the church. Okay, most people there are experts about surviving sexual abuse or other survivors. There's one woman. That one woman. She's a professor now. Okay. I can never forget the intensity of her emotion. She said, I've never thought about being abused by my priest, my pastor. She said that her whole world fell apart. The pain and the anger within me, they're crying out every day. And her life was paralyzed. she went to see therapy, and one therapy, another therapy, but she never gave up. So she went to university, get a degree, get a Ph.D., devoted her whole research area into studying, sexual abuse. Now, here's something, she did not allow her pain to stop her from make her life better and make other people's life better. Now, sometimes I was asking, yesterday I was asking, I said, while in Peterborough, I work with poor people. I help with many poor people. Help them to find jobs, help them to do translation for them. So with many poor people, before my own eyes, I saw them, how they get established, and doing well, and one family. So I helped him to set up a little booth in the farmer's market, selling acres. He's selling acres. And now he owns a big store, chain store in Scarborough. He owns houses, all children are professionals. I sell acres in the farmer's market in Peterborough. Saturday morning. Then I said, so I asked my friend, I said, why is that some of the Aboriginal people still struggling? They have no language handicap, they speak English. These Vietnamese people, they don't speak English. So maybe because residential school abuse, I said, we cannot just because the abuse took place, because experience of discrimination and abuse, then for generation after generation, you get stuck there. You don't move forward. Oh, I was abused. So we just have to say, move from here to D, from A to D.